Right. The next stories on my list, as hinted to, is the Bish. The Bish makes a return for the year.
Oh, this motherfucker.
Yeah, this motherfucker. He is pivoting Kaianga Ora from being a housing builder to a landlord. Everyone's favorite thing. Even the part about selling houses and flipping houses and all that sort of stuff as well. So really up in his game. But the main takeaway from this is Kaianga Ora turnaround plan. They're going to look to sell 200 homes in Auckland that are each for about $2 million. Because they say it's a better use of money than them having it. But don't let me explain it. Let the Bish himself do the talking. Eh? See what he has to say for himself. Hopefully you can hear it. Yes? Yay! Go!
To reduce its debt and deficit, a plan which narrows the housing agency's scope to focus more on being a landlord and less on building new social homes.
The turnaround plan refocuses Kaianga Ora on its core purpose of being a good social landlord and improving its operating performance, reducing losses and capping debt at an acceptable level.
Bishop sacked most of its...
Yeah! So he's becoming the landlord of the nation.
Fucking hell. Wow. Jesus.
The next part he gets absolutely roasted by the journalist. Which I appreciate.
Fantastic. Like it's fine. Like Kaianga Ora should be a landlord, correct? That is part of their remit. The other part of it is building houses. We have not yet scratched the surface of our housing crisis. The housing crisis that National themselves last time at the wheel denied even existing for like 3 years. So no, if he's talking about turning something around, how about turn that around? Like when we don't have anybody sleeping rough overnight, then you can stop building houses. That's like I do think when he's talking about the landlord thing, I do think there needs to be a little bit of give and take here. There were so many stories about other Kaianga Ora tenants having to put up with disruptive, abusive other tenants that didn't seem to be able to be moved. And there did seem to be a little bit of like, oh, I don't know what, we've tried nothing, but we're all out of ideas. Versus the big swing over to National, which is like, well, fuck them, get them out. You know, no warning. I don't care what happens to you from here. There needs to be a middle ground there that I don't think anybody's found. But yes, Kaianga Ora should build houses. That is part of their remit.
Let's continue on for a wee bit. I did like this comment.
Reducing losses and capping debt at an acceptable level.
Bishop sacked most of its board after a highly critical probe into the agency, led by Sir Bill English. Now the agency will wind back its construction, focusing on renewing older housing stock.
From mid-2026 onwards, the total number of homes we own will stabilise at around 78,000, unless, of course, the Minister instructs Kaianga Ora to add to our housing stock.
Home renewals will be funded by house sales, notably of high-value homes in Auckland.
Kaianga Ora owns around 200 houses worth over $2 million each. Frankly, a much better use of that money and the Crown capital is to divest from some of those high-cost, high-value homes.
But the opposition says the plan
just gets cut off at the end of there. Divest from that to what?
To what? Yeah, and look, this is a really tricky argument from him because it does sound like a good idea. It does sound like there's a whole bunch of money tied up in a couple of properties, and maybe this government department could use that money somewhere else to house more people. But he doesn't say that part. He says, we've identified some properties worth some significant amount of money, so we're going to sell them. Not redevelop them. We're going to get these paws away from the people in the suburb that is now worth something. We don't know where they're going to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is like, this is a constant argument. There's no real way to solve this. If you try and scatter social housing around places, you will piss people off. But the thing is, the alternative is concentrate all your social housing in the same place and create potentially slums if you do it badly.
Well, that
You can
almost
think
segues
about,
perfectly into another thing I've got to show you. But carry on.
oh, look, fantastic. You know, like there are, like here in Dunedin, there's big suburbs that were all state housing suburbs. I live by one, Brockville or Corstorphine.
Mm.
And they were quite well planned. They'd have schools. Like, I grew up in one in Timaru, in the Markwell area. And some of them were incredibly well planned. There was parks, there was schools, there was amenities, all of that sort of thing, because that was the big state doing big planning type stuff. But if you don't keep it up, then it can plummet really quickly. How good was my
sure.
segue? I want to see now.
Oh, it was one clip too soon. You've almost
Oh,
got
I've
it.
preempted it. Anyway,
But
I'm glad that guy with the supermarket trolley, he'll be stoked that
Mm.
those $2 million properties are being sold.
my only comment was if they kept the properties, they could leverage the $2 million that they're worth, and they could use that money to build. I don't know. It probably doesn't even cost like $500,000, $1 million to build like 6 of those townhouses on it. Done. Six new homes that they can then use, and they still have a $2 million asset. And if they do that, then they've got a $2.5 million asset that they can sell after that if they have to.
Well, that's the whole argument that you know, they're going, oh, Kaianga Ora spent too much and went too leverage. They're a huge property owner. Like, owning property is never a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so
At least they plan to plummet
so
it.
why is the government stressing about this? Like, it's bought the land. That's done. It's only going to go up in value. All they need to do is fucking build on it. You know, the development that was going to be down the road from me, cancelled. I think there's 3 other developments in Dunedin alone that have been cancelled. That like, it's 158 houses gone at this point. Like, and he's talking about maintaining the housing level, not increasing it, maintaining it. Get rid of the old stock, do some renovations, build new places, but keep the level about the same. That's not solving a crisis, Bish. It's not fixing it.
Sadly not. Here's a quick wee bit on the stats around this as well.
There are more than 20,000 applicants on the housing register, while more than 100,000 people are experiencing homelessness in New Zealand. Most of them, nearly 44%, are in Auckland.
Kaianga Ora has also taken a much...
Which is where all the houses are that they want to sell.
Can you wind back to the numbers there?
Here you go for here. There you go.
Cool. So Bish does his press conference and turns around and says, we're going to build 125,000 homes. That I have instructed Kaianga Ora to build 125,000 homes, and 40+% of it is going to be in Auckland. Cool. Problem solved. Why haven't you done it?
Let's just say, for example, that they don't sell the 200 homes that are in Auckland worth $2 million, and on each of those, let's just assume they're all state houses that have, you know, maybe a subsectioned off and made it into 2. If you times that by 6, because I'm really bad at math, so I don't make like a fool, that's 1,200 homes that they could build. And if we look at the size of those sections that they were showing off in some of those clips, they're massive.
Yeah, so that's the standard, right? When people talk about the New Zealand quarter-acre paradise, that is because that's what a lot of state houses were built on. A quarter acre of land. Because one person would be working, maybe, and you can have a garden. You could grow your own veggies. don't do that now because you can't survive unless both people are working. But that's what it was. It was productive land. That's so dumb.
But imagine
So dumb.
how many apartments you like. If you could do townhouses, look how many you could build on there.
Yep.
Now let's
Yep.
give it to a rich person who's going to probably subdivide it and then I don't know, turn it into a $2.53 million.
I mean, it's crazy. I go up the road here to Brockville, and yeah, it's all state housing. It's all a planned state suburb that was built in the late 60s. All the houses are kind of the same, but they're not all the same. And a lot of them are now privately owned because in the 80s, the same sort of thing. Divest, sell all of them. You know, I grew up in a state house that my parents had bought. So I mean, we've had a massive sellout of state houses over the last 30, 40 years. But those houses up the road from me, one of the things is, look, they might not be flash houses, right? But they have phenomenal views over the city. And so now you have people buying old state-owned sections, and like it's still got a reputation as being a rough neighborhood. And parts of it are rough, but I tell you what else it's got. It's got a good sense of community up there.
Mm.
And that's something that can come out of those neighborhoods as well. A sense of everybody's dealing with the same shit. You know, and that's one of the upsides of building a community around social housing. You know, but I think there's huge benefits in not concentrating social housing all in the same place.
Segued. I love it.
Yes. Undefeated.
Yeah. Comes back around. This is a friend of a Kaianga Ora resident on selling state housing in Remuera. This man lives there, and this was his thoughts on the situation, which I really appreciated.
That that houses like this, you have a mix within society. You don't want to have everybody just in one area. I mean, I've been to England, I've seen those big slums and high-rises. Unfortunately, they're starting to build them here too. And over in England, they're pulling them all down. So I think it's far better. I know it's costly, this is the only thing, but you have a mix within society. It mixes people up together. You can't have just poor people all put in a poor area. If those people grow up and they're so more in tune with the environment they're brought up in, they aspire to do greater things.
So well said.
I'm sure that gentleman is going to return that Woolworths basket too at his earliest convenience. Yeah, like there is 100% like, and again, this is something I'm going to put at the feet of all governments that we've had over the last 20 years. We should have been refreshing the social housing stock decades ago. Those houses that they showed are cold and damp and small and just poorly set out for what today's families need. You know, we should have been on top of it, but it wasn't a sexy problem to solve. It's one of those things that if you do a task, you know, you do a little bit, you know, and it's not just a big job. Everybody's put off those little things too far down the track, and now we're talking about real big numbers, and it becomes a political football at that point. You know, last time National were at the helm, I remember them demolishing entire streets in Lower Hutt, streets of houses. Or they were trying to sell them off or give them away to Salvation Army or NGOs like that. And of course, when they said that they were divesting social housing to NGOs like that, you know, that sounds great though. Those guys want the best of what's available. So it ends up the government is stuck with a whole bunch of stuff that they just bulldoze. And then those sections sat empty for years. while people slept in cars and under bridges in Upper and Lower Hutt. And I don't know, like, Bish is a Lower Hutt MP. He knows this. He had people calling him on it at that stage. And he's doing the same thing again, just changing up the language. The end result is there are still people sleeping rough. There are still people underhoused. There are still people at the mercy of slumlords and boarding houses where they die or they burn down, or, as I've mentioned many times, you end up with someone dying next to a motorway in a tent in the middle of winter. And that is a shame on all of us, all sides of the political spectrum, because they can't put their heads together and fucking solve this. You have all the resources of government, and you can't go, how many people have we got around the country that don't have a roof over their head? Let's fix that one. That seems worthy, honourable. Maybe we should just do that. No, we'll give Simeon Brown a multi-billion-dollar transport budget because he hit a pothole once. He didn't like it. Like, it's shameful.
Yeah. To give more context to this as well, so it was 200 homes that Kaianga Ora owned that were worth $2 million each. But the plan includes selling about 900 older homes annually, with new builds ensuring no net reduction in state houses. Doesn't say there whether or not they'll keep it net across, or they'll go sell, build, and in the meantime you've got more people that are homeless, as opposed to maybe build,
well,
then sell,
the
so that at least
sensible
those
way to
people
do
can
that?
then go into the new houses, right?
What's a sensible, humane, straightforward? How would you do it, Ems?
I wouldn't
What would you do?
sell off the house. I'd build some houses first, then I'd move those people into the
Right.
new houses, and then sell off the
Okay.
asset. But that's not what they're
That
going to
does-
do. They're going to sell the
That
asset,
that
move
does
them.
sound incredibly practical and humane.
Yes.
So yeah, the
Yeah.
government's going to do the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
100%. That's what they're going to do. So no net reduction in state houses, but when? When they're done building them all? So they're going to sell off a bunch of houses and then missing 900 homes for people? Yeah.
Meanwhile, we'll have Kieran McAnulty waiting in the wings with a steel chair when we vote these pricks out, and he'll just go, right, massive house building binge. Everybody gets issued a house at 18. There you go. Landlords are now an endangered species and will be hunted for food.
Good. So they should. Yeah, so we look forward to seeing how that develops over the next, how long have we got? 2 years? 25, 26. Fingers crossed. And see how the next government might pivot that and have to buy back a bunch of land, or develop some new land, because they sold all the land off.
And remember, for any councils that think that they could get into the game and provide social housing and that sort of thing, government is telling them to stay in their fucking lane and concentrate on their war. So, that option is closed as well. That was something that, again, with this development that's been cancelled down the road, there was a discussion here whether the council was going to buy it and put social housing on it. The government's gone, don't expect our help with that. You should not spend your ratepayers' money on that.